Welcome back, America. It is a great honor, really, to have Melania Trump with us. I consider her a good friend. My wife is very jealous, Julie. She loves Melania. Melania, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. Good evening, Mark. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I am lovely. Because here I am with you, national radio, millions of people listening. This is a fantastic book. It's called Melania. I like it. Just the title and the cover. You can get it at Amazon.com. You can get it at MelaniaTrump.com. Melania Trump, let's start at the beginning a little bit. You were very, very, very close to your mother. By the way, this is all in the book. I'm just hitting parts of it. And she passed away recently. You're close to your father. Tell us about your parents. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing in Slovenia and so forth.
Yes, my mother passed away in January, and we miss her tremendously. She's with us in our souls and with us all the time. She was a very special woman. And I grew up in Slovenia, in a small town, with a sister as a sibling, four of us, my mother, my father, my sister, and me, and had a beautiful childhood. I grew up under communism, and as a child, as a baby girl, I didn't have any knowledge about I grew up under communism. It was a beautiful childhood. My mother and father provide me with everything what I needed at that time. So we were thriving, and I was successful in the school and started my modeling at 6 years old, actually, because my mother was in fashion industry. She was working for the company, and she introduced me to the fashion world. And later on, when I was a teenager, the photographer discovered me. And that's how I continue into the modeling industry later on. But I still was studying. I studied industrial design as a teenager and fashion design, and later went to study architecture. And I paused the study so I could go on for achieving my dreams.
Mm-hmm. It's important. People should know you're very well educated. You studied. Mm-hmm. You were very successful. You became really a supermodel. And then you came to the United States. Explain how that happened.
I modeled in Milan and Paris. And while I was in Milan, I met an agent from New York City that was the co-owner of the agency here in New York City. And he saw me and he invited me to come to New York and to model here. So I arrived in September or end of August in 1996. Mm-hmm. So it was a very exciting time for me. But also, there's some challenges. You come to New York alone as a young woman, and you don't know anyone, and you need to be on your own 2 feet and to have self-motivation and self-reliance, and be very, very smart and very careful as well, because the fashion world it's a tough world. It can be very mean and cutthroat, and here we are now in 2024.
Mm-hmm. And you're in New York, and really a self-made young lady. Mm-hmm. And you're doing extraordinarily well. A little time later, a few years later, you are invited to a friend's party. You go to this party, and you meet somebody named Donald Trump. Tell us, that was 1998. Tell us a little bit about that.
It was 1998 in September. We met at the fashion party, and we have a great connection. Since then, we started dating, and we had a long courtship. We got married in 2005. We had a beautiful life. We enjoyed each other's company, and we really enjoyed and traveled, and I was still working that time as a model, and he was working, being busy. As you know, he loves to work. He loves to give back to this country. He loves this country, and we were just enjoying life and being very productive.
Mm-hmm. And obviously it's not all the time, but my wife and I have been with you and him, and I just want the nation to know, I can see the way you two look at each other. He relies on your advice. He listens carefully when you speak, particularly about important issues. You have that influence on it. That doesn't mean he's not his own man, but he wants to hear what his wife has to say. He has enormous respect for you. You can tell that, right? Because I can tell it just by sitting there and watching.
We respect each other's output, how we think. We are both individuals, and he respects my advice, and he asks me about it, what I think about, or sometimes I tell him what I think about. And it's not always that he will agree or he will listen, but that is his choice. As I always say, we are all adults. We will do what we feel and what we think it's right. But I always express my thoughts and what I feel, so that he hears from me directly. And I'm very honest with him. I'm not a yes person, and I tell him the truth. And sometimes it's hard to hear because people sometimes around him or around me, they prefer to say yes than they would say no. So I'm very honest with him.
Mm-hmm. And you got to have a partner like that, because
Correct.
It serves you both well. I mean, there's enough yes men and yes women. I don't count myself as yes men. I hope he doesn't view me that way. But you get my point. That is...
I do.
Yeah. Now, I noticed something else. You're both deeply in love with each other. I can see that. The respect you have for each other, the way you look at each other, and so forth and so on. When he goes through these things, when they call him names, when they try and create a fictionalized character of him, and they say, look, I've been around a while, they say the most awful things about him that they've never said about any politician before. When we come back, Melania, and you talk about all these things, I want to dig in on that a little bit. We're here with former First Lady and, God willing, future First Lady Melania Trump. You can get her book, Melania, at Amazon.com or MelaniaTrump.com. And Melania Trump, so I was saying, you hear these things said about your husband, and it is on a constant basis. You know him better than anybody. Is it now roll off your back, or you just can't get used to it, or you're just furious and frustrated by it? What goes through your mind?
I think it will never stop. They don't stop even after July 13, September 15. They never stopped, and it's really so shocking, right, to hear from the opposition leaders and the mainstream media that they calling him all of the vile names and a threat to democracy. And this is only contributing to a toxic atmosphere and encouraging people to do harm to the former president. So it is really disturbing. And I don't think it will end, because we are closer and closer to the election. And we could still hear mainstream media, their toxic language. They
really work day in and day out a campaign of dehumanization. That's what it is, and that's what it's... They really don't want to know him, do they? They don't really want to understand him. They don't really want the American people to know who he really is. And so they create this caricature. I see it, and it is really a terrible, terrible thing. Now, you write in the book beautifully about coming down that escalator when the president makes his announcement that he's running for president. That was quite a tense or nervous moment, wasn't it?
It was the moment that you know your life will change. And I could explain in detail how the day was in that chapter in my book. And yes, and life really changed from that day on.
You knew it would change for you?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. You knew it would change for you and Baron? It would change your lives forever? Do you think it's changed it for the better or worse? Or we don't know yet because the story really hasn't ended?
We don't know yet. We don't know yet. You know, as I always say, we don't know what will happen next month, what will happen in few months. So we don't know yet. In certain way, it was the greatest honor to serve this country. And people that I met and what we did in the White House and what my husband did under his leadership, the economy was growing, people were prospering, we had no wars. He was leading with peace through strength. He rebuilt the military and he kept our border secured. So we could just see what we have now and where country is standing now. So people will decide on November 5th.
You seem to enjoy being First Lady, and by that I mean you really got into certain issues. You understood the majesty of the position. You treated the position of First Lady with respect. Tell me about that.
I did. For me, it was a very serious job, like no other. And when I was during the tenure in the White House, I successfully advanced my Be Best initiative that I launched in May 2018. And it was focused on critical issues such as opioid abuse and the well-being of children. That was including also the foster care community. And this initiative promoted a positive social, emotional, and physical health of our youth. And we need to support them. They are our future. So, and I also did as well, after leaving the White House, I was committed in supporting foster care community. That's why I established my two platforms, MelaniaTrump.com and USAmemorabilia.com.
And you established Fostering the Future, right?
Fostering the Future initiative that provides the financial assistance and resources to help those students to thrive academically. So I have many students now in the universities that I provide them a scholarship, and we want to have that in our society to put the positive impact for those foster care children. So later on, when they're finishing education, they could go on and they have a successful job and successful career, so they could give back to communities. It's like a circle, if you really think about it.
And you talk in the book also about, the SWAT team, this Mar-A-Lago, the interference in your private life, and the way that made you feel. You never thought you would experience anything like this in the United States of America. So much intrusion, these lawsuits and so forth. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I was really surprised when I got the text from my house manager that the FBI is in front of the door, that they need to come to the residence. So I was really shocked about it, and I never knew, and I still don't know how many people were there, how many people went through my belongings. When I arrived back, I was not at Mar-A-Lago. So when I arrived back, I saw my belongings. They went through my belongings, through everything. And it was invasion of privacy. And the way it was done, it was, unheard of.
Mm-hmm. No, it's grotesque, really outrageous. The book is Melania. You can get it at MelaniaTrump.com or go right to Amazon. You'll get it tomorrow on your desk or in your kitchen and so on. I can't recommend it enough. You have beautiful photos in here, too, by the way, I wanted to mention. really photos throughout your life, photos leading into the presidency of Donald Trump and through the presidency of Donald Trump. And so you had to go through and pick these photos. And what I notice is the vast majority of them are family-related photos, are they not?
They are family-related photos, a lot of photos as well from the White House and from my travels. And as well, I have out in December, now you could pre-order as well, collector's book. It's much bigger format, it has many, many more pictures, and also have pictures through my eyes. So what I took from my iPhone, my personal photos, I put that in collector's book as well, and it's available for pre-order. It will be out in December. And, I enjoy taking photographs from my travels when I can, and that I put in the book as well. So I put a lot of time to that book, to both of them. I really enjoyed it. It was a process, of course, like everybody knows when you write a book, as you know, Mark, as well, right? It's a process. But I really enjoyed it. I was very involved. I am involved in all of my businesses, from the idea to execution. I'm completely involved, and I like to put my input, how it looks, the end product. For me, it's very important.
Well, it's a beautiful book. The photos are beautiful. You're very patriotic. A number of your photos here with members of the military. You obviously really adore your husband. You've got a number of photos of him with the military, with leaders of state, you with leaders of state and President Trump and their wives and so forth and so on. And I could just tell you as a citizen, we couldn't have been more proud of you as First Lady Melania Trump. I just want you to know that. I know you folks take a lot of incoming, but that's the truth. And I'll end it this way. I already know the answer because I asked the president when I interviewed him, but I want to hear from you. I want the nation to hear from you, and I know others have asked you, but old Rush Limbaugh, he once told me, he said, you know what, Mark, they haven't heard from you, so you got to speak. And so here we are. That July 13th, you first learned of this by watching TV, the assassination attempt. Isn't that correct?
I did, yes.
And what went through your mind? Could you even believe it?
It was shocking at first. I paused the television for a few minutes. I needed to finish my project. I paused it, and I got the phone call from my chief of staff, and she said, "Are you watching TV? There was a shooting. He's okay." But as soon as I ran to TV and I rewinded, I was only 3 minutes, away from it. And I rewinded and I saw him on the floor. And at that moment, we didn't have any knowledge what happened really, where he was hit, because everything went so fast. And I didn't know what really happened. Is he okay? If he's not okay. So when he stood up and he put the fist up and said, "Fight, fight, fight," I know he's okay, but you still have a question mark. Where did the bullet go? What did happen? So I talked to him after a while. First I called Secret Service, and they didn't answer because they were with him. And after I called again, and Secret Service answered, and they said, "We are on the way to the hospital." And I talked to my husband, and he said, "I'm okay." But, you never know till you really see him. And he was home middle of the night, around 2:30 in the morning. We were, Baron and I, we were both waiting for him. And he came home, and we were so glad to see him alive.
You never get over that, do you? And then you worry about every time he goes out, don't you?
Of course you worry. Of course you worry. And you never know what kind of phone call you will receive. Mm-hmm. And, it's a not part of the job, but when you go in that kind of position, you could always, that stuff can happen, but you never think that it will, right?
Yeah, I know. And let me just say this. It is such an honor and pleasure for my wife and I to know you and your husband and to really enjoy you folks. And I pray to God that this election is successful. You can be returned as our First Lady. And I want you in the audience, you're going to love this book. You're going to learn a lot about Melania Trump. She's a real class act. Very smart, self-made woman. MelaniaTrump.com. You can go to or Amazon.com, get a copy of the book. Now's the most propitious time to do it. 2.5 weeks before the election. You're going to love this book, I'm telling you. And thank you so much, Madam First Lady.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, all of the listeners.
God bless you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, folks, seriously, you're going to love this book. Grab a copy. It's not your typical book. This is a very heartfelt book, and there's a lot of really intriguing and compelling information in here. The photographs are absolutely beautiful. Again, the book is Melania. You can go to MelaniaTrump.com or go to Amazon.com and order it now. It's on all my social sites. You'll have the link right there.